I just came back from Dice Tower West and I'm gonna talk about it. That's what you're in for. And I played 25 games. 25 games at Dice Tower West. And I was supposed to be working. I didn't do any work. I just played games. And now I'm gonna rank them. That's it. Yeah, that's the premise. That's the premise of this video. So if you're unfamiliar, Dice Tower West is a board game meetup style of convention that takes place in Las Vegas, and I went there on behalf of World Series of Board Gaming because I said, yes, I would like a trip to Dice Tower West and run their little mini tournament, and in return, I will let the games start, and then I will sit and hope that people come to play games with me. And you did! So many of you did! And to those of you who didn't, shame on you. And to those of you who we were so close in playing a game and then we didn't, well, I'm happy that I got to see you anyway. To those of you who thought I was busy while I was running in the hall, I just walked quickly. But yeah, I played 25 games, 24 of which I'm going to talk about here. The 25th was a prototype. Chris Yee was working on a little mini card game, which he said was elevator themed, and we said was teeter-totters and pogo stick theme. You know who's correct. That's not going to be on here because, well, I would talk about the mechanics, and I don't know if he wants to talk about the mechanics because it's not like it's signed. He's just like working on it. So that I just feel, you know, it's a little bit respectful to do it that way. But yeah, I played a lot of great games. I saw a lot of great people, and I ate a lot of great tacos. Mwah! I had tacos El Gordo 5 out of 5 days that I was there. And that's incroyable. So great. It was the best moment ever. And it's the only reason I keep going back to Vegas. Before the video begins, and I talk a little bit about the games, I want to say a huge thank you to everybody who took care of me that week. You're all great. There were a bunch of people who were coming by and making sure I had people to play with and making sure that we played fun games together and that I wasn't just sitting on my lonesome watching people play my tournament and crying because nobody was visiting me. Thank you to all the people who brought me little treats or like sought me out specifically to show me games. You're all awesome. You really are. You made it such a friggin' special event, and I had a wonderful, wonderful time with everyone. Who are these people, you ask? Well, I'm going to shout out all of their names right now. Jacob, Jason, Will, JB. You guys were like the core. You came and you took care of me, and I really appreciate it. Christian, Brian, Ryan, Ken, Jesse, Shane, Chris, Delwayne, Karen, Buonocore, Jeff, Frank, Henry, Shelly, David, Dakota, Ivan, and Alex and Meg. Thanks to everybody. And if I missed you, well, I'm sorry. And if I missed playing games with you, and I'm sorry we didn't get to play games. Jonna, I'm sorry we didn't get to play games, but next time. And to everybody else, you get a little shout out at the beginning of the video. Shout out to Mary for bringing me snacks from Hawaii. You're the bomb, Mary. Oh, delicious. Yeah, it was a great time. I had a really, really lovely time at the event. I think it's a really nice event, too, if you're in the Vegas area. I love board game playing conventions. I think if you can, it's a great reason to go play games. And I've had my own little board game playing conventions. Like, we've just had weekends as a big friend group. And they've all been entertaining. But I think what's exciting about a larger convention is the opportunity to play with people that you don't often play with as well. That you get the chance to meet new people and develop new relationships and new friendships and see people from past years as well and sort of deepen those relationships. And it was really lovely. It was just like a really, really lovely time. And I had an awesome convention. And I hope if you attended, you also had an awesome convention. And I played some pretty good games too. None of these like blew my mind open. I taught a lot of games. I taught a few games that I know, and I learned a few more that I know, but I felt like I was really chill this con in terms of my goals. Oftentimes when I go to conventions or participate in these like sort of board game conventions, I've made a firm and hard rule that I'm only playing things I've never played before, and I try to aggressively seek out these new experiences. And I did, I absolutely did. And I got a good handle of games, but I also was just kind of go with the flow, and I did my part, I feel, in terms of teaching some of my favorite games and just enjoying the experience as well. And so, yeah, I'm really appreciative of everybody who taught me games, that we learned the games together from the rule book. Oftentimes I hate that, but I didn't mind it at all this con, I felt very chill, and I was just very happy and grateful that people would come to the WSBG area and see me. For those of you who don't know, I do some work for WSBG. I've been sort of scaled back this year, but I still am like, hey, I still want to travel, please. I want to hang out with my friends. So I went and I was running a little mini tournament for WSBG, the World Series of Board Gaming, because we use the Dice Tower West's library for our library as well. And if you're interested, if you're watching this video, I'll tell you the friggin' code. I don't care. You want to come to the World Series of Board Gaming, and you can use the same Dice Tower West library that's happening September 5th to the 9th, I think. I should really know this. That's the dates. You can come to WSBG, and you can use the code DTW2026 to save some money off your ticket. You can come, just have a same open gaming experience, or you can participate in the World Series of Board Gaming tournament as well. This will be our 5th year at WSBG. See, I told you I got the right date. And it's a great event. Look, there's me. I'm also all over the WSBG YouTube channel because I deal with any of their news stuff. And I think it's also a great event if you want to have a similar experience to Dice Tower West. You can. There are less hot games and more people playing the games that are the 16 in the tournament. That's what one of my patrons said when he came as well. He was like, well, the open gaming wasn't as popping because you naturally have people who are like, hey, I want to practice my game for this tournament tomorrow. So like, who wants to play? But if you get a good group of people who are interested in the open gaming aspect of it, you can play anything because we have access to the full Dice Tower West library as well. But yeah, that's why I was there. I was there running a little mini tournament for WSBG where they do the same structure. You play in random games when you get to the semifinals and the finals, and the winner won a full like stay and play package, a full 4 nights hotel, which is the most expensive part, and 4 entries into the competition to win $25,000. So I think that was pretty cool. But in the midst of that, I would just get the tournament started and go and be around for rules questions or judging questions. And sometimes it's like, hey, how does this card work? I want to make sure I'm clarifying it before I play it and reveal that information to the world. And so I was there to deal with that, but then I got to play a lot of pretty good games. So the preamble's done. I'll probably preamble or deamble. That's it at the very end, but we'll get into the games right now. And so number 24, which I played, is Super Kawaii Pets, or as I like to call it, Stephen Buonocore Searches for Grandma's Love. I played this with Karen and Stephen Buonocore, and it's just a cute little card game from, I think Arcane Wonders put it forward. Basically, you just take 2 cards. You're taking pets, which are sad, which you have to make feel better, and you make them feel better by giving them food, or doctor, or grandma's love. All of the pets that Stephen Buonocore ended up taking needed grandma's love, so he was constantly saying how much he was looking for grandma's love, and we were like, yes, Stephen Buonocore is desperate for grandma's love over and over again. You'll take those pets and then you'll put them into boxes or bags. No, that's not it. Sleeping arrangements for more points, and they all can score points depending upon what they are. It's very simple. It's just a lightweight card game. It was good to play. It's not something I'd ever play. It would be good for families as well. But what was really interesting about this one is that I was playing with a woman named Shelly who likes to modify games for working with people with disabilities. And she was like, listen, even this is still too complicated for some of my clients, but this is a really good game that I'm going to buy because I can see how it can work for people with disabilities. And so I was like, oh, okay, I was very interested in this. I was like, how would you modify what I as a board gamer perceive as a very simple game? There's still some like pattern matching and having to balance things out and thinking a little bit ahead and seeing where do you want them to go and watching what other people are getting, if they have the cats and dogs and bunnies needed to get into the doghouse before you can, all that sort of stuff. And she said, well, yeah, I would just say, if you drew this card, this little pet, you then need to just match it with any other card. You just need to find the other card that's on it, and then you can flip the pet over and make it happy. And that little matching idea, just getting that haptic feedback of, oh, I made a connection, I scored a point, you wouldn't really keep score in this version of it. But I thought that was really interesting. And this idea of using existing game components and a focus on the art, which is adorable, but focusing on the art and figuring out how to adapt it for people with different disabilities, I think is awesome. I thought it was really cool, and I thought it was really very illuminating to me in terms of my own, biases about what I call complicated and simple in like the overall board gaming term, and then seeing the actual implications of how can we simplify this for. I guess it's the same thing with like very young kids, right, who aren't ready to play games, but you can do it as a matching thing. Or I remember playing with my nephews Ticket to Ride, and it was just, hey, we've got a bunch of trains, match the trains to the color route. That's it. You have yellow trains, you have a yellow route, great, let's put those on the board. And that was like fun for them. And so that same idea of adapting these things is great. And I also got to say over and over, Stephen Buonocore is desperate for Grandma's love, which was really good and speaks to the quality of these games. There were no bad games that I played, but this one goes to the bottom of the list just in terms of my own personal enjoyment and what I would play again, really. So number 23 is a game called 12 Rivers. Again, a game that has a very fun gimmick. I had a great time playing this game. This is, I think, one of the games where it was in this one and it was in another one, which is a much higher up on the list, where JB gave me the loveliest compliment where he said, it would be great if you just didn't instantly figure out everything about a game and gave us any chance to win. And I thought that was a very nice compliment, because this I found was a pretty simplistic game in terms of the gimmick, but the gimmick itself is pretty fun. I really like that compliment in terms of it just made me feel that like, hey, maybe I'm good at my job, maybe I've got a thing about games where I'm just like, oh, boom, that breaks the game, great, let's keep moving. But 12 Rivers is a fun little thing. Everyone playing will have these 3 blockers, and you will put them somewhere along the river path, and you're going to fill up that river path with these marbles, and then you're going to release the marbles, and the marbles will roll downhill and they'll get stopped at these blockers. And if you get stopped at a blocker, you get to choose one of the marbles. But obviously the blockers that are further up, you can get the more delightful marbles, because the pearls, the white marbles, well, they're all pearls, but the white pearls are worth 5 points, and the green pearls are only worth 2 points at the end of the game. You're then collecting all the pearls in this little alpaca, this little llama, and then you're going to assign them to different characters that you're picking up to do their scoring conditions. Very cute, really simple. I very much enjoyed playing this game. When people said, did you like it? I said, yes, it's great. I love the gimmick of it. You can see them all loaded up. Over here, ready to be released. So when this releases, this blue one is going to stop the green and the white marble. And in order to go there, the blue one had to discard these cards. You also had these special cards, which when you played 2 of them together, you got to use their ability. The best 2 being the ones that gave you extra people and the ones that gave you extra marbles. But yeah, I said to people, I was like, listen, the gimmick is super fun. I had a great time with it. We also played it as the last game of the night. It was very relaxing at that last game of the night time period. Would I ever want to own it ever in my life? No. Would I be sad if I never played it again? No. But that doesn't mean I don't regret playing it. Or I regret playing it. That doesn't mean I regret playing it. That's how the double negatives work. It's fun. It's a cute little gimmicky thing. I think for the right people, this could get definitely 2 plays instead of 1. But yeah, I liked the gimmick of it, and the decision space was very light, and the potential for depriving people of the marbles that they really wanted was a fun thing. So yeah, 12 Rivers was a good time. Number 22 is Cryo. This is another game from Luke Laurie. Luke Laurie, who has done Dwellings of whatever they're called, Eldervale, that's the one, and Andromeda's Edge, and Manhattan Project Energy Empire, which I enjoy. But this is Cryo, where you trying to recover these little pods and put them below the Earth before the Earth enters a new ice age. And how this game works is you're going to put one of your workers down, and then you're going to activate one of the spots that it's touching. So in this instance, you could take either of these tokens, or you could do the action where you can convert one of those resources for a purple up to 3 times. That's why there's the 3 little dots above it indicating you can do it 3 times. On your main board, you are putting things above your board, getting cards that you can put above your board for abilities that you can do for the rest of the game, putting cards beside your board for additional scoring conditions, and putting cards below your board, because that's how you can transfer pods into the deep underground. In addition, this board will create conversions for when you return your people to your board. In a standard sort of Luke Laurie game, you put all of your people out, they all take actions, and then you bring them all back to do actions. It was fine. My issue with this one is that it is my issue with a lot of Luke Laurie's games. It feels like there's a predefined flow of the game, and you're never really incentivized to break from that flow unless you're ahead. The flow being, I put out 3 and I return. I put out 3 and I return. Because naturally, your recalling action is going to be less efficient than any of the other actions that you're going to do. And if that action is less efficient and less important than any other action that you're going to do, then you're naturally not going to do it. Why would I do that action when I can do a better action? And that's kind of what Cryo felt like to me, this idea of recalling. You never really get the chance to develop this board because you'll develop it a little bit, is what I found we all did, because we wanted to have our actions mean something, so we established these tokens. But the fact that this person has all these tokens out, every time they put out a person, they got one of these tokens. So the action efficiency of wasting your turns to develop slight variations of actions feels so weird and very wrong. This engine never really makes a lot of sense to develop, and instead you really want to develop sending people into the depths. Because even one turn, being one turn behind, can cost you the game. Like, that's what happened to me. Jason realized he was ahead, and he sped the end of the game as quickly as he could, and the rest of us were planning on one extra turn to be able to fight him for majorities down here where he was placing his people, and we didn't, and he ended up winning. So yeah, I just didn't feel a lot of satisfaction from the flow of putting out and bringing back. And honestly, maybe this could be the bottom tier because I didn't really feel that satisfaction. Like, maybe this should be my bottom one. At least I got Grandma's Love, the enjoyment of Grandma's Love, and Stephen Buonocore in that one. And I really enjoyed the gimmick of 12 Rivers. So really, Cryo is probably the bottom of the list for me. I'm going to adjust it right now. Cryo's number 24. I thought it was fine. I have no desire to ever play this game again, and I think it's weaker than Dwellings of Eldervale, which I didn't enjoy. It's weaker than Energy Empire, which I enjoy more. So yeah, just a pretty big miss for me. So I guess this one was the only miss, and this should have been the first one on my list, but it's not. Well, it is now. It's number 24. We're going to move on to So Clover, number 21. I played this with Alex and Meg and a couple other people, and you know what? I had a good time with this game. Here's the thing. I know how to break this game, and I have to actively not break this game because it goes against the spirit of the game. But once I realized how to break the game, it made it a lot less fun for me. And I don't want to tell you how to break the game because I'm worried about depriving you of your enjoyment of it. So I won't. I'm not going to do it. But if you really want to know, well, I'll tell you how you could break it. And then you have to have like a rule in terms of, well, was this person actually doing the breaking strategy, or could they just not really think of a good word? And then you'd have to rule it, and you have to like have it dependent upon the people. Anyway, So Clover is you put out these cards randomly, and you have 2 words, and you have to have a word that will help people get this arrangement of clovers. So Order and Devil was henchman, because the henchman could be evil, and henchman you give orders around, right? Like that's kind of the vibe. And then we mix these all up, and then the rest of the group has to figure out where to put these. In addition, they've been given a random one from the stack to add a little bit more confusion. And I have always played this game, and I've always gotten every single thing correctly pretty much instantly. I don't really remember a game where we didn't just get it obvious every single time. And this time, we failed abysmally. And in fact, that made me enjoy this game so much more than I've enjoyed it before in the past. I've always thought like So Clover, it's fine, it's whatever. But this time I was like, oh, this is great. I love seeing us be bad at this game because it means that the game might have a little bit more merit than I originally thought. So that was delightful. It was delightful how bad we were. And I was, oh, that looks like Dice Tower West. This is very much Dice Tower West. Oh my goodness. And if you look, there's the WSBG sign in the back, which means somebody was doing this in 2025, and I would have been over in that area. That's so funny. So in this one, you'd see Tornado and Sober, and you put like Whirlwind and Wine there. and you'd have some things that anchor it down, and you build off of that, right? Anyway, I liked how abysmal we were at it, and that kind of redeemed it for me. So that's why it's above the other ones. But normally, I'm not a huge fan of this game, but it's fun. It's fun enough. Meg was saying that she played it once for 8 hours because they wanted to get a perfect game, and I thought that was very funny. So number 20 is Dewan. Dewan, this was an interesting one. Again, none of these games are bad. I actually had quite a lovely time with most of these games. They all just kind of fall into that, like, yeah, it was good. Would I play this again? Sure, if somebody wanted to. Would I seek it out and purchase it? No. I might enjoy this at a higher player count. I think there would be a lot more interaction at a higher player count. I think playing it at 2 on the base game didn't really show it off as much as it could have. And there are other scenarios in it that you can work with. But with Dewan, you basically take these little contracts. So this contract right here would mean that I would have to be touching 2 of those blue symbols and be on 3 of those red symbols. And on your turn, you can take 2 cards. They have to be next to each other, so a little shake-up for the drafting aspect. Or you can play cards to get from one space to another. So if I was getting from this green space as red, as long as you can see that one, yeah, it's not, my face isn't covering it too much. This little green space from red to this mountain space, I would have to play a green card, a blue card, and a mountain card. And then I could drop my thing on the mountain. You'll score points for completing these contracts. You will get to add additional cards underneath, which can help you complete those contracts. You will score points for other things on the scenario, like how much fire you have, how many fire symbols you have, how many berries you have. And the other scenarios looked significantly more interesting than the one that we played, but that was basically it. It's a very quick game. I found with that base scenario, I knew I had lost and I was trying to chase the tempo of the game, but I made a mistake pretty early on with breaking my tempo. And it was just fairly impossible to recover after that because the map was so open. That's why I think in a 4-player game, there would have been more spaces for people to block and to go through. Because if you go through somebody's, you got to give them the card, which was the most interesting aspect of the rule book, which never happened in a 2-player game because we were able to just sort of easily avoid each other. But yeah, it was cute enough. Like in this scenario, there would be a volcano that's spewing out, which would affect the board. And I think that's already significantly more interesting than what was happening before. I think what I didn't like about it is that you are limited to a certain number of contracts. I wish you could have taken more and more contracts and kind of chained your locations together, and that there might have been a little bit more of that interplay, but the maximum amount of contracts you can get are 4, and then it's just becoming a race in terms of how you solve those and how you get additional points outside of those contracts. So yeah, I think I would have liked to be collecting more and more contracts, and the fact that I couldn't made me a little bit disappointed, but it was okay. It was a good enough game. Yeah, coming in at what, number 20. Number 19 was Rock Hard 1977. This is actually the first time I have played this game. It's taken me a long time to play this game. My compatriots for Christmas Carol played this game, but there were 5 of them and they wanted to play, and I said, okay, I'll teach and I'll watch and just hang out. So it was the first time I played it, and it played a little bit better than I expected it would. I enjoyed it more than I expected I would as well. It's a very standard worker placement game, a pretty simple worker placement with the added effect that you can snort some candy to give yourself extra actions. But if you do, in the cleanup phase, you have to roll a dice to see if your cravings have sent you to rehab. And basically, if your cravings are at level 2, if you roll a 1, you get sent to rehab, right? It's a very reasonable thing to do, to just have a couple bumps of candy and then not think you're going to go to rehab. I rolled a 1 3 times in a row. Every time I just had a little bit taste of candy, I got sent straight to the hospital. And I loved it. I love that aspect of this game. I think that's actually a very fun and funny part of it. The theme goes very hard in this, and that makes up for sort of a lackluster decision space. It comes down to a race for different key spots on the board that will generate you a ton of points. You are racing to 50 points, and you're trying to do everything you can to get there through personal goals and whatever. I like this a lot more than I expected to. Again, engaging with the theme is fun. I think mechanically it's not all that interesting, but I think the theme hits really hard and helps carry it through the game, even though the mechanics and the spaces and the challenge isn't really that exciting. So yeah, it was great. It was great. I'm glad I finally got to play that. and I really liked the theming of it, and so had ultimately a pretty good time with it. Number 18 was Castle Combo. I've heard about Castle Combo a bunch in terms of quick little games. It's rated 241 on BGG. That's good. Castle Combo is very simple. You're making a 3x3 grid of cards. And, oh, I had that guy. That guy basically won me the game. In this 3x3 grid, you are trying to create things with different placement restrictions and get as many points as you can. You're going to have 2 rows of cards that you can choose from, the little peasant row and then the castle row, if it ever comes out. Yeah, over here. And this little dude up here will tell you where you can take from. So right now you can only take from the peasant row. But as soon as you take from the peasant row with something with this little symbol, which has like an arrow, he'll move up to the castle row, and then you can take from the castle row. You only have a set amount of coins, so you have to balance those coins, and you want to try to get the most, the biggest score that you can. You're also collecting keys, which can move you up and down and give you a little bit more flexibility, or worth points, depending upon the cards that you get. It was a fun little game. I liked the choices. I liked playing it. I liked it even more after I realized that the left and right symbol I was misreading, and it actually meant for any card in the row, so it counted itself. I think that then you don't just have to put it right in the middle of your board. Yeah, it was good. It was good. Quick little drafting game, inoffensive, probably a good price point, easy to play, easy to teach, great little filler. Nothing bad to say about it. Do I need it in my collection? No. Do I ever care about playing it again? No. If somebody wanted to play it, would I? Yes. And I would enjoy myself doing so. That's for a lot of these. So that was number 18. We're moving on to number 17, which is DNUP. One of the dumbest names in board gaming, DNUP, which stands for Down Up, which is Scout, but not. You will have a hand of cards. Like Scout, they will be double-sided, but you don't get to flip them whenever you want. You can only flip them in certain ways. And you don't really have to follow anybody, but everyone is sort of facing off against each other. So if I play like 3 5s, for example, the next person to play 3 6s means I'll have to pick up all my cards, but I'll pick them up in the reverse order. Or if it gets around to me and nobody's beaten my set of 3, well then they go away and I get to play more cards. The first person to go out of the cards gets 2 points. 4 points win. You can also add cards onto other people's, gets you 1 card out of your hand, but makes it more likely that they are going to get rid of their chunk of cards. You can pick up people's cards as well if they're really tasty numbers that match with yours. So there's a lot of cute variability, cute flipping around. You can also flip your entire hand too. So you want to play things and then flip your hand and play more things. It's cute. It was fun. If you just get a really good hand, you're going to win, or likely will win. There's not as much interaction as Scout. I think I like Scout a bit better because you're kind of affecting each other, but I liked it. It was light. It was simple. A decent little game coming in at number 17. Okay, number 16 and number 15 are kind of a tie because they're the same game. But specifically, I liked Fromage better than Formaggio, and that's not because I won Fromage and I lost Formaggio. No. The real reason is because we were playing wrong in Fromage, and then we had to play right in Formaggio. And I was like, dang, I actually kind of liked the rules that weren't the actual rules more. Not because I abused them to win, no. But maybe I did. I don't know, because we were playing it correctly, and I know the reason why the rules exist now, but I still just had more fun doing it that way. Anyway, Formaggio and Fromage follow the same basic pattern, is that you will have 3 workers. They will have different types of cheese: soft, hard, and blue, the standard sizes, the standard types of cheese. You'll also have your own little worker board where you'll have special workers. You'll put 1 worker here in the piece of the pie that's towards you in a 3, 2, or a 1. You get that many resources. This also indicates the cooldown of this worker. And then you'll play on its own little mini game, which is in Formaggio, collecting wine bottles. Or in here, being next to these gondolas on all the canals. You know? The canals of Venice. Yeah, that's where you are. Venezia. I'd like the mini games about the same between Formaggio and Fromage. Formaggio has these purple spaces, which will take even longer to get back around to you. But here are the 2 rules that we did wrong in Fromage. In Fromage, we were able to block these jam spaces, even if we didn't have the jam to turn into jam. which you'll have little fruit and you can turn it into jam, and that's a scoring condition. But you have to, in the real rules, when we read through the rule book, you have to have the jam to go on these spaces. And I like the flexibility of like, hey, I want to take this space more in the broken game, but I understand it then having a requirement. I think the benefits of going to these spaces are still good enough that you don't need to make jam with them, and only making jam with them and getting the benefit of those spaces sometimes feels like it's a little bit stronger than it should be. So that's my issue number one. My issue number two is that you can only place one person out here and one person up here, and we might have been putting two people in here in Fromage, which I liked more. I like the decision space of like, hey, I'm going to go hard for this one, and that means I will be penalized for this next space. Now, I realize the reason this rule exists is because there are these spaces which will get you your person back immediately, and then the strategy is, okay, just place all of your people in the spots that get you people back immediately to lock those up, and just continually do that for the first 4 rounds until all those spaces are gone. Sure, I understand that it can break the game, but we weren't really playing it like that way in the broken game version of Fromage, or maybe we were. I kind of forget. It was one of the first ones of the con. Anyway, I just remember like I enjoyed that more free-flowing flexibility in Fromage than when we were playing by the actual rules. And when the actual rules make you like the game but less, I don't think that holds super well for the game, or at least for your own enjoyment of the game. But I still think it's a good game. I like how quick it is. I like that I've now played both versions. I like that I could face off against anyone in the rub-off now, because this is part of the rub-off. The Room and Board Ultimate Final Fantasy Board Gaming Challenge. I think that's what it stands for. I'm fairly certain. I'm about 98% certain that's what it stands for. But yeah, a very light game. I can see why so many people like this game, because it is so quick. It's a great filler game. You can play a game of this in half an hour, and it feels like you're making good decisions, and it also doesn't overwhelm you with choice. And I think they do that with Fromaggio as well. I don't think the new spaces overwhelm you with choice either. I think they're a little bit more complicated than the base ones, but not unduly so. The base ones being a little bit easier to understand. I could see the merit for owning both and wanting to shuffle them all together, but if you're just going to get one, I would go with Fromage instead of Fromaggio. But again, I've only played these once. They're good. I would contemplate adding Fromage into my collection. I guess I could add Fromaggio too, and then just put them all in the same box. As long as they fit in the same box, I'd be okay with it. If they didn't fit in the same box, I don't think I would want them taking up that much shelf space. But yeah, I could see the point in owning it. A quick little light game. Was fun enough to play, didn't blow me away, but was delightful, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. So what was that? That was 16 and 15? I think so. So let's move on to 14, which is Eclipse, Second Dawn for the Galaxy. I played a big old 6-player game of Eclipse. It took us 6 hours or a little bit more, and this sort of helped round out my board gaming knowledge for 4X epic space games. I was very back and forth on this game in terms of like, oh, it was the last day of the con. Do I want to sign up for something that's going to be 6 hours? That's going to take up my whole day, that I could play like 2 or 3 new games and have more on the list for this specific video. Oh my gosh, this giant eclipse on the grass. Wow, that seems fun. But I'm very happy that I played this. I'm very happy that I played it. I thought it was a really neat game. It is way better than Twilight Imperium 4. It is not as good as Galactic Era or Dune. I think I prefer both of those, well, obviously, to Eclipse. But it was still, there was a lot of merit to it. That big one on the grass, that's funny. That's a big freaking game. Yeah, although we did play a couple things wrong, which I think might have improved my opinion of it if we had played them correctly. Let me see what Christian was saying. Oh, right. We could have had a little bit more in the explore area. And also, there was one point. So I was playing the science faction. How Eclipse works is on your turn, you'll take one of the actions. You'll move a disc and you'll take an action. I really do like this action economy because the more discs you put out on the board to take control over things, the less actions you're going to give yourself, which I think is great. I love that balance. I love the balance of extending yourself too far. But the exploration aspect of this happens when basically in the first 2 rounds of the game, and then there's no more world to explore is what happened for us. We all kind of explored out, and whenever you explore, you sometimes find empty galaxies, and you sometimes find galaxies that are filled with aliens. And if you are the science faction, or really any faction at the beginning of the game, these aliens are very scary, and they can blow you out of the game if you try to move in and attack their space. So it felt really bad when everyone's like, yeah, explore. Ooh, I get this amazing tech. Ooh, I get this huge boost of resources. What do you get, Chris? Jack shit. Actually, there's an alien next door and you can't move in. Oh, okay, cool. Well, maybe that won't happen to me again. Everybody else goes, yeah, I'm going to expand it this way. I'm going to go and meet up with my neighbor and create an alliance to up our resources. What are you going to do, Chris? Well, I'm going to explore again and be trapped again by an alien. Now, we could have discarded those aliens, and then that just kind of ends your turn. So it would leave me with more ways to get out of the system. But at the same time, I don't think it would have really changed my experience of feeling bad in those initial moments because, well, I still have just wasted my turn. It's like, did you waste your turn? Nope. Did you waste your turn? Yeah. And that's just what it was for the first 2 turns. I did nothing. I sat in my solar system and felt sorry for myself and had everybody around the table feel sorry for me, which ended up working for my benefit because they felt sorry for me for the majority of the game. And then I was able to like get a foothold and claw my way back in Turtle and score a bunch of hidden points that people didn't notice because everyone was focused on their own boards and they didn't see all the points that I was getting for my tech or my research track. But like just that aspect of just like, well, drag, I guess. You guys have fun and I'll just sit here. Cool. But then like it ended up being positive for me because while everybody else was trying to jockey for position around the table, I just had these NPCs that I could take out. So I was just taking out NPCs. I wasn't pissing anybody off around the table. I wasn't creating conflict. There really weren't that many conflicts happening around the table. It was a very sort of ally-centered game, which worked for me as the alien tech race. And so I had the time to tech up and sort of outpace everybody with my techs and then suddenly have a bunch of ships where nobody could move in to attack me because I had so many more techs than everyone else. But just that flow of the game kind of bummed me out at the beginning, which I would have liked to see not that. I would have liked to see more reasons to attack each other. I like the scarcity of the resources, but yeah, I don't know. So that was kind of a main downside of it. The things that I did like is that there's a random techs that come out every round, and so you don't have a standard tech tree progression. You have to be like, oh, the thing that I used last time actually isn't here right now. So what do I do with the choices available? I think that's pretty good. So I really liked that about the system, and I liked how the techs got cheaper and cheaper the more you invested in them, especially being somebody who was investing in tech. That was very fun. I liked the asymmetry of the characters. I liked that you can upgrade your specific type of ship as well with those techs, and that you earn the right to upgrade, and upgrading is taking an action. But my main enjoyment of the game was really this action system. You're paying gold for actions, and you can see this player over here has to spend 21 gold at the end of their turn to take the actions. Now, we're going to look over here at their gold. They're at 12 gold income, and they're at 0 gold right now. So they're 9 gold short, and basically they'll have to pull discs off of the board until they can pay their due, which I think is a really neat action system and penalizes you for stretching yourself too thin. So that's what I really liked about the game. I think there's a lot of interesting aspects to Eclipse. It doesn't take out my favorite 4X board games for me, but it was quite an enjoyable experience, and I'm quite happy that we played it, even if it was a little bit long. I mean, it was the last day of the con. Some people were, had to go get food or were taking longer breaks, and that's just how it was. But yeah, was really happy to do it. Man, oh man, was I happy that there was Sammy had printed out the friggin' cheat sheet, the 4-page cheat sheet, and laminated it. You need that with the game. Especially when it was a chaotic teach of everybody just kind of shouting different mechanics at you, and then I was like, okay, but like, how do I win? Like, what's the point, and how do I get points? Oh, okay, it's this way. All right, let's go. But yeah, it was surprisingly easy to pick up as well, having played in this genre. So yeah, quite happy that I played it. and it would go on the would play again pile under the right circumstances. So that was number 14. We're on to number 13 with which is Soothsayers. This is from Play to Z games, so we played Stephen Buonocore's copy. I think Ray talked about it in an R&R show that I was on about games that she was excited about, and it was fun. I liked it a lot. Because it has one of my favorite mechanisms in board gaming, which is the follow mechanism. Basically, you'll have these 4 different types of actions, and when you pick one of them, well, everyone else can follow those, or they can pass to earn money. Oh my gosh, I don't know what this mess is. I need a better picture. So essentially, you'll all start with a level 1 of each action, which is taking cards, upgrading your cards, earning money, and playing these tarot cards, which give you special abilities. You can take more cards, you can get up to 6 on each level. The person who is the highest on each one of these levels gets a point. The person who is the highest on each one of these levels gets a point. You can also spend money to get a point from this board over here, where you spend, like the first person spends $7 to get a point, etc. I think it's good. I think it's a fun game. I also didn't interact with most of the game because I had a good run of cards in my hand, and I was able to ascend to level 6 very quickly on the green, which then helped me ascend to level 6 very quickly on the gold. And then I just passed every turn, got passive income, and nobody could beat me in the tempo to win the game, and I just bought my way to victory, which was, hey, very enjoyable for me to just immediately see that pathway, not as enjoyable for anybody else who couldn't stop me, because they couldn't take points away from me because I either bought those points or I'd hit the cap before anybody else. But generally, you can pull points away from people by playing a higher card or something. But yeah, I liked the mechanisms of it. I liked the follow mechanism. I liked that if you wanted to follow someone and they had a higher level than you had to pay them points. I liked the different variations of stuff that you could upgrade, and the player powers, the unique powers were fun. It seems like a nice back and forth that you can play. I would happily play this again and see if mine is the broken strategy or if it was just that specific spot. I think mine also worked a little bit better in 4 players because there was more jockeying for power, and I don't think you could pursue that strategy as much in a smaller player game. So you might get more of that drafting, more of that building up your engine, that tug of war aspect. But yeah, I really liked it. I like the art. I like the flow of the game. And even though I spent most of my turns doing nothing, most of my follow actions, I was like, you know what, I'll pass. Just get $4. I'll pass. I'll pass. I'll pass. I'll buy a point. I'll pass. It still was very fun because, like, that is the engine that I devoted myself to, and to see it pop off and for it to be effective was exciting. And also see everybody else's engines pop off and see what they were doing was equally exciting, to see the potential of the game as well. So number 12 was Furnace. Furnace, it's been re-implemented by Furnace Duel. I've never played Furnace Duel. I'd be interested to check that out. But Furnace I've played before. I have a review on the channel, and probably on Board Game Geek. No, don't look at anyone else's review. Go to mine. Right here. Look, I'm wearing a top hat. Furnace is a great game. We were looking for a game to play, and it was a very quick one if you are an avid board gamer. If you are not an avid board gamer, like it took my Christmas Carol people a long time to figure it out with the iconography, but it's just engine building. I made a big mistake early on to try to get a bunch of oil, and then no cards came out that I could turn oil into stuff, and I went, oh, this is why you don't go hard into the oil garbage strategy. But every building you buy is going to have 2 sides. You can upgrade it to get the better side, to have multiple actions, and it will always give you things. You want to put that back into other things so you can just get points. Most points over 4 rounds wins. And I enjoyed playing. I often play this with the expansion. They have a couple extra player powers. They have other things that you can bid on. It kind of deepens the experience a little bit more. And then playing this without deepening that experience, I thought was great. Quick, very simple, easy to put on in the background, so to speak, while my mind was busy with other things. Made for an enjoyable game. I always like playing Furnace. But what did I like playing more? Well, number 11, it's Bauer. Shout out to Ken for teaching me this game. He was like, hey, I taught you 12 chip trick last time, and I'm going to teach you another fun little game this time. Well, it didn't quite get up to number 3, but it's still a very good game. And it only didn't get up there because there's some games that, like, I've played before and I know I love. So, and I'm trying to not only do Cult of the New, boop-a-doo-boo, but there is, yeah, my number 1 game is a new one. Bauer's great. If you like drafting, this is really good. And the reason why this is really good is it has a nice little unique way of drafting. You're going to be collecting cards in a normal drafting game. Set collection, cards with points on them, and symbols that will help you score quests, needing to have these symbols, cards that have different abilities. But the fun part about this game, cards, well, there's a couple fun parts. All of these cards are night cards. So you're either going to take a day card or a night card. Day cards you reveal, night cards you stay face down, which you can use at the end of the game for scoring. So there's some mystery in terms of what people have taken. And the other fun thing about the drafting is that everybody has a deck, and you draw 3 cards from that deck. You pick one, and then you pass the 2 onto the top of the next player's deck. So they're going to get the 2 cards that you pass them, plus 1 additional card. And I think this way of drafting is very fun. You don't know what's going to happen. You have a little bit of control about what you're giving to the next player, but it's not so much control that you need to overthink it. There was only one where I was like, oh, well, that's going to give Frank the game, so I better take that for me. But otherwise, it wasn't too much to worry about. A very good, slick drafting game, and really quick, very intuitive. Comes in just a standard deck of cards sized of game. It was really nice. I'd happily play this again. I'd happily keep it in my pocket. It's a great filler game. It's one of those things where you could pull it out at any time. Now, I would still buy 12 Chip Trick in the store before I bought this one. I don't know if this is one where I would feel the need to own, but it would be close. It would be close. I do still love 12 Chip Trick, though, and need to get myself a copy of that. But yeah, that's number 11. Number 10 is River Valley Glassworks. This is from our good friends at... Oh, they have changed it on here. They have changed it. Oh, that makes me so sad. That makes me so sad. You know, for the longest time, they hadn't changed it on here to all play, and it was still BoardGameTables.com. And that brought me a lot of joy because I got to shout it out. Anyway, I finally played River Valley Glassworks. I feel like everybody and their dog was talking about this game when it came out. And, well, I had a cat at that time, so he wasn't talking to me. River Valley Glassworks is kind of a Zool-like. You're drafting these little stones, these cute little stones that you're going to put on your board. You want to create both lines and columns. The lines scoring you a bunch of points, the columns scoring you your 2 highest columns. So you want to put your higher columns later on in the lines so that hopefully you can get more points, but you want to put your higher columns earlier in the lines because then you score every line up into their empty space. So if these columns were switched around, you would then score like the 3 and the 3, the 7, the 6, the 3, and the 3, but now you're scoring the 7, the 6, the 1, and the 1. It's a nice little drafting game. I find the game ends really quickly. We played 2 games back-to-back of this, and it was fun. Just trying to match up the different types of glass. You have a chart as to which glass is more rare than others, which is nice. Oh, I don't know what this is. Ooh, there's some extra cards and like objectives. That would make it more interesting. But yeah, in terms of a drafting game, you place a piece of glass in a spot to take all the glass from an adjacent spot, but then you're building up the spot for other players, right? And that's, do you want to build up that spot? Do you not? You essentially want to give them stuff that they have too much of so that they'll lose points. It was good. Makes the top 10. Inoffensive. I can see why so many people like it. I would happily play it again, and it is, again, a really nice little filler game for sure. Number 9, I'm very happy that I finally got a chance to try this. It's Forest Shuffle, which I can't believe that was 2023. I remember this going very far in like the best of the year deathmatch, and I guess it was best of 2023. Forest Shuffle is if you took a filler game and you decided to say, hey, let's make that 4 times as long and make you score 300 points with it. It is a game that's on Board Game Arena, which I can see why you would want to do it on Board Game Arena, because adding it up at the end is probably annoying. And I feel like I stumbled into what must be the broken strategy, which is get a crap load of trees and then throw down a bunch of elk in one turn. But yeah, you're drawing 2 cards from the deck, and every card, in order to play it, will require you to discard cards from your hand. You're going to discard that into a open tableau that your opponent can take from. So you might want to hold on to stuff that your opponent is collecting. All of your critters will score with different scoring conditions. They'll score depending upon the tree that they're on, what other animals are on it. Even the trees have their own scoring conditions. I went really tree heavy because my my whole hand had a bunch of trees, and then I had a thing that was like, hey, you scored 10 points if you have 8 different types of trees. And I said, well, I guess this is the strategy I'm going for the whole game, because that's the only thing I need. The hair strategy is a friggin' trap, because you can just add in a hair, but like I was getting 10 points per card, and the hairs would take me like 5 turns to get 5 points per card, and just felt like a horrible investment. So it feels like there are some traps to fall into, and that it's not like quote unquote balanced, but it was still very fun to play. I liked learning it. I liked that some of these games you feel like you don't get the chance to really ramp up and take a long time with and develop an engine, and Forest Shuffle is not that. It is taking a 20-minute game and doubling it, and maybe tripling it, because triples are best, and then saying, okay, now you get to feel satisfied that you have searched through the deck to find all of this different type of thing, and now you get to score it for a bunch of points. And so for that, I really appreciate it, but it also may not be enjoyable to people to be like, oh, I wish this game was half as long. But I guess not, because everybody likes it, and it did very well in the year that it came out. It's ranked 152 overall, so I think people like that aspect of like, oh, I actually get to develop something instead of having the game end too quickly. Like River Valley Glassworks, I feel like it ends a bit quickly. Forest Shuffle, I cannot say that at all. And yet there is still a really nice tension about when the game ends, because it is unknown. And so you're like, oh, do I draw cards, or do I try to get those last little points that I can get? Or I see that he's building up for something across the table. Okay, I'm going to try to draw as many cards as possible to try to end the game. So yeah, I liked it a lot. I can see myself playing it a lot on Board Game Arena for sure, and never needing to buy a copy in my life. Number 8 was Saltfjord. I taught Saltfjord to a bunch of people. I've had a review for Saltfjord drop on the channel recently, and I like it a lot. It's a re-implementation of Santa Maria, which, thank God, that's been re-implemented, so we can get this horrendous art out of the picture, and we can get these horrendous happiness points from the natives out of the picture, because that's just atrocious. But Saltfjord is great. Saltfjord takes what I think is an awesome mechanism where you're building out your board, and then you're drafting dice to activate everything in a row or column. And I really like that aspect of it. I think it does, I said this in my review, I think it does suffer a bit from the ability to do everything. Like once you've played it a couple of times, you know how to get to the top of every single track, and how to pretty much drain the fishing area dry and fill your entire board. And I kind of wish that it was a bit harder to do all of these things. That might give it a bit more replayability, but it was still very fun to play. I enjoyed playing it, I enjoyed teaching it, and it's very satisfying to build out your board for sure. Number 7 was a new game. Shout out to Brian, who has the channel Brian Boru. What's your channel, Brian? Boru Nation, that's it. Which I guess he hasn't posted on in a long while. But this is Brian. Brian taught me Bohemians. Brian taught me Mistborn, the deck builder, last year, and then is one of the nicest people ever, because we were midway through the game and he was like, yeah, I'm so sorry, I have to go to the airport, but you guys stay, you finish the game, and then you can ship it to me and I'll pay for the shipping. And we were like, you're an insane person. No, we'll pack up the game and give you your game back. Thank you for teaching us, and thank you for letting us play it. So Brian taught me Bohemians. Bohemians is a deck building game. Has a lot of nice parts about it. You're trying to link up and match these symbols. So I would have one eye symbol created and 2 masks created. I don't think I get to count this eye. Actually, I don't know if you can count this eye. I should have asked that as a question. But you're creating these different symbols, and every one of those symbols gives you power, which you can then spend on getting more cards. You also have a job, like I was the busker, that you have to do every day, or you get a hardship card. You can also get these muses, which will go down below in certain spots, and if they are attached to certain cards, they can do things. So this, if it's attached to a pink card in one of these spots, well, you can gain 2 extra buying power. The goal of the game is to spend your points on these cards, which will spend your buying power, your inspiration on these cards, which will give you points. The first person to buy 5 of these wins. So you're trying to develop a deck that you can cycle through enough to give you enough inspiration to buy these ever-increasing, challenging goals. Now, the other great part about this is that you're living the bohemian lifestyle. And so when you're planning your day out, and you can tell everybody what you're doing on your day. So this morning I fell in love, and I wrote to a lover, and I attended a dancing event, and then I danced vigorously. And there's a lot of like very funny things that can happen as you're chaining these things together when you're associating them with muses. It's very funny. One of the hardships is you can get syphilis, which of course Jacob got because he was going all in on like all the pink cards, which was like going to a brothel and falling in love with someone and chasing them down in the street. All of these very funny, stupid stories can come out of it. And then I also like that you don't have to engage in these stories if you don't want to. You can just be like, okay, I have 7 symbols, 7 buying power, I'm going to buy this thing. I like that it's kind of a dual deck building. I like that your muses don't ever take up spots in your deck, nor do your hardships. You always get to draw 5 cards you can do something with. So you never have inherently dead hands, only less good hands. And so I immediately went for the muses so that I could draw through my deck quicker, and then went for some power cards to help chain things together. It was great. It was a nice little deck builder. I'd never heard of it before. I'm very glad that I got to play it, and I liked kind of the dual deck building that was happening. The idea of putting these symbols together and being able to affect them with your muses, I thought was neat. So yeah, quite enjoyed that one. That was number 7. Number 6 was good. It felt dated. And I know that this is a new version of the Voyages of Marco Polo, which I guess that was 2015. So then this is 2019. It feels like a 2002 game, but it's by my boy Simone Luciani and by my certainly not boy Daniel Tassini. Another beige Euro, which I do love. Basically, you want to explore all of these locations on the map. So like this is a city, and the first person to go there will get the top part of it. And then then you'll get to put a trading post down there. And when you have a trading post down there, you can use that specific action with your dice, which is spend a camel and a purple and get 8 coins, right? Like there are all these actions on the board. There are also all these actions on the bottom of the board, which will give you different conversions, get you different things. So you have to roll a 5 or a 6 to go here, and you get 2 jade and 2 camels. Or you can spend a jade for 12 coins, like that sort of stuff. I like a lot of the mechanisms of this game. I like the dice. I like that you can buy additional dice. I like that you're trying to optimize your contracts. You're taking on these contracts and you're trying to complete these contracts. That's the core of the game, is going around to these different spots on the board, but also completing these contracts for points. What I really dislike about this game is that if you roll well, you just inherently get to do better things. And there's no real benefit to rolling low. If your 5 dice that you roll are less than 15 in their sum, then you get coins up to 15, which happened to me on the first turn. Sure, I got a bunch more coins. That's great. But like, it feels really bad when someone's like, oh, I can take all the good actions over here, and you can only take the shit actions. Why? Just because you rolled poorly. I think that's an inherently flawed part of the game design, but I still liked it enough for it to be up here in the upper 10. I like the aspects of it. I liked the movement of it. I just think it's really dumb that, like, you can use your camels to mitigate it, sure, but you also just get more camels if you roll better. So, and you want to spend your camels on taking black dice to give you extra actions. It's a really weird one. Like, I just don't see how this was made in 2019, especially by Simone Luciani, who's so good. I just think, like, I don't know, it's a fun game. It's a fun moving around and having to pay the costs of the routes and trying to optimize getting contracts that can move you so you don't have to spend the extra actions. That was the key. Spending multiple dice to move multiple spaces is interesting, but you still have to pay the full cost. Also, the player powers feel so unbalanced. Like, there's just so much of this game that just feels like a mess. But there's a lot of other parts that I enjoyed. So yeah, roll well if you want to win in Marco Polo 2. I can't believe this is 2019. And the fact when I saw it was 2019, I almost put it in the bottom half of this list, because I was like, there's no way that, like, I would have, if it came out in 2003, I would have said, yeah, like, I get it. You didn't realize that, like, rolling well and having that determined that you can do all the good things and nobody else can do them is a bad game design. But I think it's inherently a pretty bad game design. And this is the second version. Like, this was your improvement of it. And you're still like, yeah, you roll well, you get to do the actions you want. You roll poorly, screw you. That aside, I still enjoyed my experience with it. Maybe because it was the only kind of newish, crunchier Euro that I got to play this go around. Maybe that was the reason why this is so high. I just think that I think it's a bad design when you roll high without any mitigation. But hey, I still had a good time with it, so that's why it's number 7. Number 6 is Abyss. Abyss is another new game that I had never played before, and this one's 2014, and it makes sense. In Abyss, you can do like 3 things. You can flip over cards, which should be over here, to try to get a nice card into your hand. You can take leftover cards from these piles, knowing that they're a certain color, or you can spend those cards on these big lords down here, which are worth points. Some of these lords also have keys, and if you get 3 keys, you can then get locations, which are worth a bunch more points. What I do like about this drawing card thing is that everybody else gets a chance to purchase the cards before you, but they have to pay you for the privilege. So I think that's neat. Definitely turn order will play a part because there were a bunch of cards of the same color that ended up being left over, and that really benefited the person in seat 3. And so it can be swingy in that regard. But again, it's kind of like Ticket to Ride-esque in that you're kind of searching for cards, you're drawing the cards, and you're seeing if you can use those cards to grab these leaders down below. Once somebody has 7 leaders, the game's over. And I liked it. I liked the powers of the leaders. Yeah, I imagine that kids could play it pretty easily as well. It's not too advanced. I like the push your luck aspect of drawing the cards. I liked snagging up a bunch of cards and trying to race people for these leaders. I liked that I ran out of pearls immediately and somebody else had so many and I felt jealous about that. There's a lot of good stuff happening in this game. Trying to race and use your resources efficiently and anticipate what everybody else has was fun. So yeah, I really like that. That was number 6. Or number 5. That was number 5. Yeah, that was number 5. Number 4 was Endeavor Deep Sea. I played this with Alex and Meg and JB because JB and Meg had never played it and Alex hadn't played it for a long time. I love Endeavor Deep Sea. I think I will stop, not necessarily stop, but I might stop teaching the game on the base version. It depends on the people, but I've taught this game a lot, and so I've played the scenario 1 a lot, and there are a bunch more interesting scenarios that you can play, which kind of shake up the game and shake up the scoring. In scenario 1, basically every disc you put down will score you points. And so I find that the score ends up being fairly close, just because everything you do gives you points, which is great for a learning scenario. But now that I've played that a ton of times, I am getting a little less enthralled with it as a scenario. Still, the core loop of Endeavor is so good that it had to be up here. I think it's awesome. It's going to be in my top 60 games of all time for sure. I love the action efficiency. I love that it's Dopamine, the board game. I have a full review on this, and I think it's one of the best of the year which it came out in, which was what, 2024? Yeah, it won the Kennerspiel for a reason. It's so good. I will never turn down a game of Endeavor Deep Sea, and I really enjoyed doing it. Similar to number 3, I will never turn down a game of Darwin's Journey. It's in the top 100 for a reason. It's in my top 20 for a reason. This is by Simone Luciani, who was one of my favorite designers. And this is sort of combos the board game. I do this, which gets me this, which moves me here, which moves me up here, which bumps me down here, which moves this over here. It's so satisfying when combos go off, and I really love the creation of unique workers as you go through on your personal board. You start it with 1 seal of a type on a worker, and then you can add more seals to give them better spots. This worker has, 2 blue, 2 red, and 2 purple seals, and then purple or wild, and so can go and activate like the 3 blue space, the 3 red space, 2 red and 2 yellow space. It's in addition, you get bonuses the more you go up. It's just great. Like, everything about this is awesome. I love this game a ton. I wish that the expansions were just this bottom half of the map, because as far as I can see, nothing of the top half changes. I kind of hate that as a shift, but I'll get over it. I don't have any of the expansions, but I will probably pick some up at some point in time, because they just shift up the maps and shift up some scenarios, but it's great. It's an awesome way of chaining things together. If you love crunchy Euros and things to chain, yeah, you should check it out. It's Simone Luciani at his finest. Now, number 2 is unabashedly a fantastic game. And it's going to feel like it's a meme game, and you know what? Maybe it is, but you know what it also feels like? It feels cute. You're feeling cute, baby. This is a game that Jeff won in a raffle, and it's called Feelin Cute. And I kept telling everybody when I was doing this list, I'm like, Feelin Cute's going to be in the top 3. And it 100% is an exceptional game. It's so stupid, and I'm so glad that we played it. You get one of these little animal paws. Yeah, you can be frog, you can be dog, you can be bog, you can be dog, you can be gog, you can be log, you can be gog, or you can be cog. And then, then an animal is going to be put on the tables. Let's say we start with this Shetland pony, for example. And then a new animal is going to come up underneath here. And if it's my turn, say it's a green sea turtle. And I'll say, I'm feeling cute. And that's how you know I'm ready. And then you will all stick your little animal paws and you'll point it to either the left or the right of the Shetland pony. If you think it's less cute than the Shetland pony, then it goes to the left. If you think it's more cute than the Shetland pony, it goes to the right. Now, obviously, the Shetland pony is cuter than this green sea turtle, so they had it correct in this regard. But then, now when the white tiger comes out and it's your turn, well, you have 3 places where you could put the white tiger. You could put it to the right of the Shetland pony, you could put it to the left of the green sea turtle, or you could put it in between. You get a point for guessing what people were thinking. That's it. But he's just looking at cute animals and saying, I'm feeling cute, which is exceptional. And I also love that everybody around the table was saying that the cow, the cute little dancing cow, was less cute than an ordinary house cat. And then when they went to other tables to back them up, you know who won every single time? The cute little dancing cow, baby. It was exceptional. I played this multiple times at the con. People bought it on the spot. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. But it was just like a fantastic filler and one that I had a great, cute little time with. And that brings us to number 1. And I want to direct our attention to the bottom of this list, which we decided was Cryo. I'm changing it to Cryo to be the bottom of this list. The worst of the worst is Luke Laurie down here with Cryo, because the best of the best is Luke Laurie up here with Whistle Mountain. I had such a great time with this game. Probably because the theme makes it so easy to understand, but also because of the mechanisms. So the theme of this game, as I understand it, is you're building scaffolding. You're building scaffolding in between 2 mountains where there's a whirlpool where people are drowning, and you'll build that scaffolding, and then you'll send in gigantic airships to just hover beside the scaffolding to get resources that, for some reason, you left on the scaffolding. In addition, you're going to be putting workers onto the scaffolding. Why? To activate resources? No, of course not. To smush them with buildings and put them into the Hall of Memories, or the tower, just the tower on the side. They'll be worth points the higher they go before you smush them. Also, the water will continue to rise and will drown your people if you don't smush them fast enough. But in addition, on the outside of the board, there will be additional worker spaces. So if you don't want to use the worker spaces that have been created up here in the center of the board, well, you can go to the outside of the board and draw cards, for example, by putting your person up there. Get different abilities, get more pieces of scaffolding, get more buildings that you can use as the water rises. And the reason the water rises is because you've put a building high up on the mountain and the water's jealous that the buildings are so high, and it says, let me get those buildings, I gotta be closer. And it just rises because of that. As you can see, the theme is great and perfect, and nothing about it needs to change. Where are the whistles? Nowhere to be found. Actually, they're found on the scaffolding, and they're wild. They're a wild resource. That's why it's called Whistle Mountain. You could have called it Weird Star-Shaped Mountain and then put weird stars as the wild resource, but Whistle Mountain sounds better. Yeah, this is a better picture of the board. But the mechanisms of this game are great, and here's the thing. While we talked about with Cryo, It's the same thing. You're putting your 3 workers out. They have different sizes, so they can fit in different spots, which is great in a polyomino game. But then you will have to recall your workers. And when you recall your workers, you can build portions of the scaffolding, and you can build buildings, and you can send your workers out there. And this is such an important action, probably one of the most important actions, because you're going to want to do it a lot. In fact, you are going to want to do it when you've put one blimp out, or 2 blimps out, or 3 blimps out. The fact that this action is a viable option every single time is great. It's so good, and it makes the difference from Cryo, which follows that same boring pattern of I put my 3 workers out, I take them back. I put my 3 out, I take them back, because taking it back is never interesting. Here in Whistle Mountain, taking your workers back is finally interesting. You finally did it, Luke Laurie. You made it work once. I'm so happy to be able to like a game that, I like Energy Empire, fine, but it's on the chopping block for me because I never really reach for it, and I think it's just okay. But yeah, you're getting so much more scaffolding. You get points every time you put scaffolding down. I played a huge scaffolding point game, so much so that the water barely rose because I didn't care about the buildings. I was like, I'm just making a million spots. And then I smushed my workers all nice and good. It was great. It was great. The cards, every card that you get is so powerful that I should have been getting cards every turn, especially that you can trade 2 resources of anything for 3 cards. Bonkers. But yeah, the buildings feel, honestly, the buildings are the weakest part. I was like, I don't care about the buildings. They're not going to get me as many points as just building scaffolding. So, but you can invest in the buildings. I really, really enjoyed so much of this game. I loved these abilities. I loved finding the combos. I just had a great time. And this was one of those games where I was like, yeah, this is the only game, other than Feelin Cute, where I was really considering, okay, this could make it into my collection. I would want to show this off to my own friends. And that's very exciting. That's what I always hope for when learning new games. I want to be filled with that excitement, and I want to enjoy life. And this made me enjoy life. So it was by far my favorite game that I played at the convention. Sure, I like Darwin's Journey objectively better than Whistle Mountain, right? But the newness of it, the call to the new, being so delighted to enjoy that recalling mechanism and understand the difference between Cryo and this, and how that sings and the balance of that. And that is why people, I think, enjoy Andromeda's Edge, because you're building up that recall action so that it is effective for you. But I think recall action is better because it isn't dependent upon the number of ships that you recall. And I think that is potentially quite important for a recall action. Like the recall action in friggin' Apiary, also pointless, never good enough. It needs to be good. It needs to be your best action. It needs to be an important action that you can spend resources on. If you can spend a bunch of resources on it, and you don't have to build up the engine for spending those resources, but you can just spend resources, it gives you a reason to go out and get those resources, and then you use those resources when you bring your people back in ways that get you points and hit that dopamine center. It's just great. And that's what Whistle Mountain did. So that was my sort of favorite game at the convention, Whistle Mountain. I've talked for a long time. I'm going to talk a little bit longer. I had a great time at Dice Tower West. I want to thank everybody who played games with me. I had a great conversation with Joe, who is the owner of BoardGameTables.com. Sorry, All Play. And it was great to meet him in person and have him tell me how much he hates that joke in person. Which is great. But the main point of Dice Tower West and these sort of game plan conventions is to play games. And it's great carving out a bunch of time like this, like Breakout Con, like the Niagara Board Game Weekend. It's great carving out that time to sit down and to engage in your favorite hobby. And so I just had a lovely time playing these games. They were all sort of middle ground games. It shows me what middle ground games are capable of as well. For a delightful weekend, I had no problem with any of these games, really, other than Cryo. But any other game, even the Super Kawaii Pets, hey, give me a taco and I'll play any game, baby. But yeah, there are so many great games out there, and it was a lovely time engaging in those games. And thanks to everybody who played games with me. And again, if I didn't get a chance to play games with you, well, hopefully we can play games together next time. And I'm actively looking forward to that happening. Thanks for being here. That's the recap. I like going through, I like talking about my experiences, sharing my thoughts about the games, all perfectly passable. I think anyone can have a good time with most of these games. And I hope that your next gaming forays are equally as enjoyable as mine. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Chris George. I don't have a catchphrase, but I do have this cool WSBG hat that I don't wear that often, and I really should because it's such a solid hat. I would encourage you, go to a game playing convention if you haven't been to one. It is worth the cost of admission. Even Cheapy McGee says it is, especially if there's one local and you don't have to spend the money for the hotel, because hotel's always the most expensive part. Hope if you were at Dice Tower West, you had a great time. Tell me about your own local gaming conventions down in the comments too. I'm excited to hear about them.